Welcome to the Monday reading sessions. I'm CJ Southworth, and this week's episode is going to focus on the poetry of Nick Flynn. Nick Flynn is a poet and a memoirist. He teaches at the University of Houston. He's probably most famous for his memoir that's called Another Bullshit Night in Suck City, which has probably the least poetic title that you have ever heard, but is a beautifully written memoir about growing up. His mother killed herself when he was in his teens, and his father suffered from severe mental illness and abandoned the family when he was younger. And he reconnected with his father as a graduate student when he was working at a homeless shelter, and his father turned out to be one of the clients at it. And that is what poems that we're going to share tonight kind of deal with, is around sort of the same topics that the memoir does. So these poems come from the books Some Ether and My Feelings. And as I said, they kind of reflect the content of that memoir. So this poem, first poem is called Fragment, Found Inside My Mother. I kept it hidden. It was easy to hide behind my lingerie, the shoebox above my boy's reach, swaddled alongside my painkillers and their childproof orange cups. I knew my kids, curious, monkeys, but did they know me? It was easy to hide. It waited, the hard O of its mouth made of waiting, each bullet and its soft hood of lead, braced solid against my thigh. I'd feed it with my free hand, my robe open as if nursing, practicing my hour of lead. My letting go. The youngest surprised me with a game, held out his loose fists, begging, guess which hand? But both were empty. Who taught him that? And this next poem is called You Ask How. You ask how, and I say suicide. And you ask how, and I say an overdose, and then she shot herself. And your eyes fill with what? Wonder? So I add in the chest, so you won't think her face is gone, and it matters somehow that you know this. And near the end, I eat all her Percodans to know how far they can take me, because they are there, so she won't. Cut straws stashed in her glove compartment, and I split them open to taste the alkaloid residue. Bitter, lingering. A bottle of red wine moves each night along as she writes, I feel too much again and again. Our phone now unlisted. Our mail kept in a box at the post office, and my mother tells me to always leave a light on so it seems someone's at home. She finds a cop for her next boyfriend, his hair greasy, pushed back with his fingers. He lets me play with his service revolver while they kiss on the couch. As cars fill the windows, I aim, make the noise with my mouth in case it's them. And when his back is hunched over her, I aim between his shoulder blades in case it's him. Sudden. If it had been a heart attack, the newspaper might have used the word massive, as if a mountain range had opened inside her, but instead it used the word suddenly, a light coming on in an empty room. The telephone fell from my shoulder, a black parrot repeating, something happened, something awful, a Sunday, dusky. If it had been terminal, we could have cradled her as she grew smaller, wiped her mouth, said goodbye, but it was sudden. How overnight we could be orphaned, and the world become a bell we'd crawl inside, and the ringing all we'd eat. This is other meaning. Coming home from the drive-in, asleep under blankets in the vast back seat, my mother full of attention to the road, and we're all wrapped in darkness and steel. Somewhere lost in the heart of the engine, small fires burn, pushing us away from where we've been. The 100-foot high movie screen and the airplane that passed through Steve McQueen's head. My feet stab at my brother's, wandering his own walled city of sleep, suspended in an endless present, endless protection in the low hum of static. I remember a chair, a maroon and velvet throne. I fell asleep in it once, under a glacier of coats as a party raged around me. Only later did I learn the other meaning of maroon, of sailors. Whole families put out to sea in inadequate lifeboats, left to drink their own piss and pull gulls from the sky. I open one eye, but cannot identify the tops of passing trees. How far to home? Once she left me on the side of the road and drove off into the rare green earth, her taillights fading sparks. Once she cast me out onto the porch, naked in the snow, merely because I said she wouldn't dare. This next poem is called Kafka. The cause of death seems to have been starvation. His throat closed, and so he was no longer able to swallow. On his deathbed, he was editing The Hunger Artist, which, perhaps ironically, perhaps not, he'd begun working on before he was felled. My father will, the doctors tell me, also starve to death. He also cannot swallow. I have said no to the feeding tube because I imagine that is what I would want someone to say for me, but really, how the fuck do I know? The fact that I am the one who will pull the plug on him and that I will pull it with one simple word is in the realm of the unbearable, but apparently I will bear it. The doctor promises to make him comfortable, which means morphine. Nowadays, this is how the plug is pulled. Afterward, the money he buried under that tree, the take from all his bank jobs, all of it will come to me if I can just get him to draw me a map, if I can find the tree, if I can find his shovel and the house, the mansion he grew up in. Soon a lawyer will pass a key across a walnut desk, but even this lawyer will not be able to tell me where this mansion is and my father's masterpieces, his many novels, mine now to publish. I don't have to tell anyone I didn't write them. Not a word. My triggers. Hers. Buildings. Windows. Department stores. Her mother had thrown her body from one. Mine. Pills. Guns. The ocean. Mine tried each before succeeding. This was the how. The when for us was the same, autumn. We'd go inside ourselves every fall, and neither was in any shape to look for the other, to coax the other back, not really. Her mother hadn't left a note. Mine had written, I feel too much in hers, over and over, as if these unnamed feelings, as indispensable as oxygen for the body, could destroy her. They did. We never discussed the why. The day Lou Reed died. It's not like his songs are going to simply evaporate. But since the news, I can't stop listening to him on endless shuffle. Familiar, yes. Inside me, yes. Which means I'm alive, or was, depending on when you read this. Now a song called Sad Song, the last one on Berlin, sung now from the other side, just talk really at the beginning, then the promise or threat, I'm going to stop wasting my time. But what else are we made of, especially now? The chorus sings, sad song, sad song, sad song, sad song. I know him better than I knew my own father, which means through these songs, which means not at all. They died on the same day. What a perfect day. Maybe at the same moment. Maybe both their bodies are laid out now in the freezer, maybe side by side, maybe holding hands, waiting for the fire or the earth or the salt or the man. If I could, I'd let birds devour whatever's left and carry them into the sky. But all I can do, it seems, is lie on the couch and shiver, pull a coat over my belly as if it were all I had, as if I were the one sleeping outside, as if it were my body, something was leaving, rising up from inside me, and the coat could hold it inside a little longer. And this last poem is called Philip Seymour Hoffman. Last summer, I found a small box stashed away in my apartment, a box filled with enough Vicodin to kill me. I would have sworn that I'd thrown it away years earlier, but apparently not. I stared at the white pills blankly for a long time. I even took a picture of them before finally, definitely throwing them away. I'd been sober again for some years when I found that box, but every addict has one, a little box, metaphoric or actual, hidden away. Before I flushed them, I held them in my palm, marveling that at some point in the not so distant past, it seemed a good idea to keep a stash of pills on hand. For an emergency, I told myself. What kind of emergency? What if I needed a root canal on a Sunday night? This little box would see me through until the dentist showed up for work the next morning. Half my brain told me that. While the other half knew that looking into that box was akin to seeing a photograph of myself standing on the edge of a bridge in the familiar dark neighborhood of my mind, that comfortable place where I could somehow believe that fuck it was an adequate response to life. And so those are the poems for this week. Again, this was Nick Flynn. I do also highly recommend his book, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City. As you know, as mentioned earlier, the title may not sound overly poetic, but the memoir itself is beautifully written. It's just a gorgeous piece of writing, and it kind of pushes all the buttons when it comes to feeling. Thank you for joining me this week. Look forward to seeing you again next week when we will be reading some and sharing some more poems. Have a great week.